My name is Lieutenant Governor Susan Bysiewicz, and we are so honored to be here in the presence of 55 United States military veterans from World War II to Korea to Vietnam to recognize their service. So if you are able, would you please rise for the posting of the colors, and the colors will be posted by members of Scout Troops 73 and 1073 and Cub Scout Pack 124. And I'd now like to invite up to sing our country's national anthem, Trooper Sebastian Messi.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. And could we have a round of applause for the Scouts and Cub Scouts that have all right. Thank you so much. And today we are so very honored to have the host of today's ceremony come forward. When I called the town of Andover, First Selectman Jeff Maguire and the town administrator Eric Anderson were so very excited to host this, to recognize and say thank you to the veterans of Andover, and I want to thank everyone at Town Hall that helped make this possible, including Veterans Affairs Representative Susan Camerata. So with that, Mr. First Selectman.
Hello, I want to thank, on behalf of the town of Andover, I want to thank everyone for attending this event. I can only tell you that for the veterans of our town. It's never enough to say thank you. Everything that you've done, your service, your sacrifice is greatly appreciated, and we thank you. And for everyone else, thank you for attending again. And Lieutenant Governor told me to be brief, so I'm going to be brief.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Mrs. Welch, we appreciate your gracious hosting. I'm very proud to say that between 2008 and 2010, I was Secretary of State then, and we had the great pleasure of holding 140 ceremonies like this to honor our World War II veterans. And I had the opportunity to recognize and say thank you to more than 15,000 World War II veterans in almost every town in the state. And today we have the opportunity to say thank you to World War II veterans who, without their bravery and determination, we would not have defeated Nazism, and the world would have been a much different and less free place. And we are honored to be joined by John Lagola, a Marine who served in World War II, and the families of several other World War II veterans who are here in honor of their loved ones. And I will say that our office has continued this tradition of saying thank you and honoring both Korean War veterans, and we've done that in 97 towns, and Vietnam War era veterans in 83 towns. And because you are a small town, we're honored to have all of you together in one place to say thank you. And I think that Korean War veterans and Vietnam veterans have a lot in common with one another because the Korean War veterans had some great challenges. The winters between 1950 and 1953 were some of the coldest on record. And so our soldiers who served in Korea had to endure temperatures that were well below zero, and often our American troops were not equipped with the clothing that they needed for that very cold weather, and they were also vastly outnumbered by their opponents. Our Vietnam veterans had different challenges, and those were serving in very hot jungle temperatures. Also, the challenges that were presented by monsoon rains, intense urban combat, and exposure to toxic chemicals like Agent Orange. The other similarity that I think that exists between our Korean veterans and our Vietnam veterans is this. Because the Korean War was never officially declared or officially ended, when our Korean veterans came home, they didn't have the parades and the celebrations that the World War II veterans had when they finished their service and when the war ended. And of course, we know what happened with our Vietnam veterans. Often they returned home and were greeted with protesters who called them names, who spat upon them, and our country learned a very important lesson from our Vietnam veterans, and that is no matter what your opinion of a particular war is, we must always, always say thank you to those that serve our country and sacrifice so that we can enjoy the very precious freedoms that we have in this country. And President Obama said in his Memorial Day address at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C., he said this: "You cared for one another when you came home from Vietnam. People weren't talking about PTSD at the time, but you understood it and you were there for each other. And just as importantly, you didn't just take care of your own, you've made it your mission to make sure that today's troops get the respect and the support that all too often you did not receive. And so we thank our Vietnam veterans for their continuing advocacy and support for our veterans. Today, we have the opportunity, as we honor our World War II veterans, our Korean veterans, and our Vietnam veterans, the opportunity to reflect upon the 405,000 Americans that were lost in World War II. And in Connecticut, we lost 968 people who gave their lives in that war. And we remember the 36,000 people who gave their lives during the Korean War. And we think of the 326 Connecticut soldiers who lost their lives in Korea. And we remember the 58,000 Americans who were lost in Vietnam. And we remember especially the 612 people from Connecticut whose names are etched in granite on that memorial in Washington, D.C. And I think it's especially timely that we say thank you to our veterans while they are here, because it is estimated that we are losing 600 Korean War veterans every day in our country, and we are losing 530 Vietnam veterans in our country every day. So we are very happy to see you and to be able to have the opportunity to say thank you for your service. And I think the final thing that I would say is, having had this incredible privilege to meet our Korean War veterans and our Vietnam veterans, I've had the opportunity to see their humbleness and also their commitment to service that has continued well beyond their military service. These are the people in your communities who volunteer for civic organizations, who serve in our veterans organizations, who run for elected office, who you see at charitable events. These are the people who have continued to serve and make our communities and this beautiful state the great place that it is. So we are so happy that you're here. We say thank you for your service. To the Vietnam veterans especially, we say welcome home. God bless each of you, our great state, and our wonderful country. So with that, I am very proud to introduce to you the person that Governor Ronald and I have put in charge of taking care of the 137,000 United States military veterans who live in our beautiful state, and that is our Department of Veterans Affairs Commissioner, Ronald Welch.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor Bysiewicz, for your kind words. And once again, for taking all the time out that you do from your busy schedule to recognize our service members and their sacrifice along with their families. I'd also like to thank your first Selectman, State Senator, your city manager, and other elected officials that join us today. I'd also like to recognize our World War II veterans from the greatest generation for their service and sacrifice. To those of you that served in Korea, or Vietnam, or in support of either one of those wars, welcome home. These are the words that you should have heard when you first finished your time in service or stepped back on American soil after your tour of duty. Let me share with you that my oldest son and I are veterans of Afghanistan and not Vietnam. I was 15 years old in 1975 when Vietnam was coming to a close, and our POWs and service members were coming back home. But the reason that I joined the military was because of everyone in you that served. You were and are my heroes and mentors. As young kids, my friends and I ran around the woods, southeastern Connecticut, quite obviously about 50 miles from here. We built foxholes, we climbed trees, we climbed the hills, we crossed streams, and we got in the swamps. And we pretended to be all we did. We pretended to be soldiers, and sailors, and marines, and airmen, depending on what day it was. Our uniforms were really simple. We had Sears rolled up, double knee, tough-skin jeans, slingshots, Red Ryder BB guns. If we were really lucky, we had a Mattel M16 with a grenade launcher. Only a couple of us had something like that. We watched MASH on a black and white TV to try to learn more about what happened in Korea. I listened with amazement to my Uncle Bob Welch talk about his time on the ground in Korea in the Marine Corps as a young corporal. He described a lot of what the Lieutenant Governor talked about, the rugged terrain, the freezing conditions, being undermanned, under-equipped, but still driving on a mission and taking care of his Marines that he was in charge of. Uncle Bob was wounded. He received a Purple Heart and a Silver Star for moving under direct fire for 200 yards to come to the aid of a fellow Marine. I would also watch the evening news at every opportunity I had to see what was going on in that foreign land called Vietnam. I enlisted right out of high school on the challenging path to become an Army Ranger. I had been trained by drill sergeants, airborne, and Ranger instructors and served in one of the 2 Ranger battalions at the time. It was mostly led by combat veterans. We were never camper. We were trained extremely hard in the most extreme environments, mountains, jungles, desert, Arctic. We did our missions by land, sea, and air. We were held accountable for getting the mission done, though we the lone survivor, as the Ranger Creed says. This upbringing enabled me and our team of joint military members to survive in combat in the highly contested eastern portion of Afghanistan from 2005 to 2006. And throughout many significant challenges over nearly 40 years of serving in the military. From a private in the trenches to a general officer at the end. So thank you, veterans, for everything you've done to help us get to that level. As I close, the month of September, I know it seems like a long time ago now, was a very difficult time for our country. As we remembered 9/11, Lieutenant Governor was down in Sherwood Island with the governor and a lot of the other commissioners. And we were remembering the 22nd anniversary of the longest war in our history that didn't end the way we all anticipated it. And now, a lot of things might be triggering as we continue to watch things drag on between Ukraine and Russia and Israel and Hamas. Those conflicts that are happening right now and other things around the world. As many of you know, after war, military service and re-entry into normal life has a lot of challenges. A lot of challenges on you, a lot of challenges on your family. Isolation and suffering right now is taking out about 22 veterans a day, unfortunately taking their lives. So we need to prevent that. It's never too late to ask for help. Doesn't matter how old you are, what your experience may have been. When you close the door with a therapist, it's 100% confidential. I would say if you don't really want to do it for yourself when you're struggling, please do it for your family. Take advantage of what we have at the Connecticut Department of Veterans Affairs. We have 4 missions. We have a highly rated 125-bed skilled care facility. We have a residential facility with programs and services for families and about 170 veterans. We also have, very important to you, offices of advocacy and assistance with veteran service officers. They're located in Waterbury, Fairfield, Milford, Millington, and Norwich. They really are the direct support to help you process a claim if you've ever been injured or if you've ever been sick related to your military service. They can explain all the benefits you're entitled to, you and your family members. This year, our small team of 10 veteran service officers helped nearly 9,000 veterans and families. That brought in $125 million of federal dollars to those veterans and families. We're very proud of what they've done. We have memorial services at two cemeteries, Rocky Hill and directly across this, Rocky Hill and Middletown. So, once again, thank you for your service and sacrifice. Please remember you're not alone and welcome home. Thank you very much.
Commissioner, thank you so much. And finally, it's my pleasure to introduce your state senator, who is a tenacious advocate for our veterans and our families, State Senator Ronald.
Thank you. Small town, biggest crowd I ever seen. Yeah. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, for putting this together. I travel with you across the state. I know 169 towns. Probably you'll try to do 169 towns. Yes. Thank you. Friends of family, community, and our fellow soldiers today for being here and celebrating, honoring, and welcoming our fellow soldiers who answered the call of duty and defended to the principle of democracy and freedom. We may not know you all, but we owe you everything. Democracy and freedom stay strong because your service. Welcome home and thank you for your service. We love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Ronald. So now, this is the best part. So the best part is not listening to politicians, no offense, myself included. The boring part is done, and the interesting and exciting part is to hear from our veterans. So I have this microphone, so if any of our Vietnam veterans or Korean veterans or our World War II veteran would like to say a few words about what they did, where they served, what they learned, we would all love to hear it. And I told you I've been to, my goodness, hundreds of towns, and nobody left me with a microphone all by myself. So who would like to volunteer to be the first veteran to talk about what they did or where they served? Oh, excellent. Thank you for being the first one.
Good afternoon, folks. My name is Bysiewicz, and I've been an Andover resident for 26 years. Many of you have seen me around town at the transfer station. So I may be the youngest in the Vietnam veterans here. I don't know how I got into that category, but I was a submariner, so I apologize to all of those who really saw some hard combat compared to what we went through with the long hours. Not fancy dinners and meals that you'd expect, but certainly a lot of time spent underwater. For my own personal career, I was a young kid. I didn't know what I was getting into exactly, and they give you these tests, and your recruiter smiles and says, "My gosh, we've got a plan for you." And it involved nuclear power and going to school for a couple of years, which in itself was pretty good for a young kid like me. And I ended up pretty lucky because I did a couple of refuel overhauls on 2 submarines, especially later on where I met my future bride, who also served in the Navy, over here at EB. And it was a good time for us at that time, although it was, like everybody else, was sort of a struggle in many different ways. But as we reflect back now, today, can't be more proud of what we've done. select family members in service, and sort of chose to celebrate, and we'll talk about it. But we hope that we see more of what we saw when we were there in our countries. I don't know if we've been into wars particularly, but I hope that for America and as we continue to grow our service members and the respect that they deserve, and I want to thank you for being here today. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for volunteering to be the first one in. Oh, good, okay.
Should I stand?
Whatever you want, it's your moment. Just say what you want.
My moment.
Yep.
John Gasker, I grew up in Andover, and actually I'm not son growing up. I went to this school, and got a long connection to the Andover school. In fact, one of my teachers is sitting right here. But I got drafted in 1969. I was really naive. I had no clue what Vietnam was about. Couldn't spot it on a wall map. I just acted stupid, and I got drafted. And like I talked about through the physical and all that, that's 10 birds. But I got drafted into the Army, and then by August of 1969, I was sent to Vietnam. And to talk about something that's weird, we smoked on the airplane. You could do that day. And went to Vietnam. I was trained as an infantry foot soldier, also known as a grunt. So I think that term comes from the fact that you carry maybe 60 pounds of weight on your back, along with extra ammunition, 5 foot of water. And when you try to get up off the ground, you grunt. And I didn't sleep in a bed, slept on the ground every night. The first night I went over there, the monsoon had started. I thought I would find this nice little underground area to sleep in, so I laid my body down and put our ponchos, we carried poncho, we put them over us, and in the morning I woke up sopping wet because I was in a little trench. So after that, I knew I had to sleep on a little mound. So I spent my year in Vietnam as an infantry foot soldier. Our job was to walk 10 clicks a day, which is about 6 miles, with all that stuff on our back, and set up, and we were supposed to do ambushes every night. But since we're all draftees, we didn't do that every night. We found a safe place, and we set up a perimeter for people to watch, and were able to sleep. So I don't know how they expected us to stay up all night ambushing and then walk those 10 clicks, which is 6 miles every day. I didn't get injured, other than getting goop sores, we call them, because when you're wet for a long period of time, your skin doesn't heal. I also got anemic dysentery because we ran out of water, so I ran got water from the stream, and the amoebas grew inside of me. We were able to put that, get those out of me. I came home safely, and I was telling Chris here, when I got home, I was about 115 pounds and 5'6". I grew after that. And we avoided telling people about Vietnam because it wasn't a very popular war. And it wasn't something that I was really proud of. Over the course of time, joined the VFW and American Legion, talked about the veterans, and felt like that started to get appreciated. But still going through it, still growing up.
I was in the Signal Force, and if we were on maneuvers, we had a truck with radar and everything in it. And as they're going through the jungle, my sergeant said, "Shout," that's me, go 60 yards off the road and stay out in front of us. So I did. So when I heard him call me back, I come back. I said, "Okay, Sarge, let me know. What did I do out there?" He said, "You're out there to draw fire." Oh, thank you very much. That's how you get rid of your men, huh? That's it.
volunteer? Sir, you're being volunteered, would you like to say?
Sit.
I didn't hear you say anything about one of the things I feel right now is that it's not simply the people who serve in North Road that we should. I happen to like to fund we were for the job, did it well. And unfortunately, many of us were shocked by all of this.
My name is Jim Ernst, and I've been an Andover resident for almost 10 years. I retired, but I'm probably new home and moved to this town. Probably 10. My military experience, I was one of those infantry runners. I went to Vietnam in 1969 also as a second lieutenant. As an officer, I had a platoon of almost 40 soldiers. And for the whole year, I was in the jungle. Various parts of Vietnam, South Saigon. Also, I was part of the first wave of army that went into Cambodia. And we did have a couple of helicopters there. But I did return safely. I never got wounded. I'm proud of my record. I had nobody in my company for a whole year that got killed. I did have some people wounded. I had been in over more than 30 firefights with mortars and everything else. I did receive 2 Bronze Stars for some of my actions. I served as a first lieutenant for 2 months to the end. They promised me I could be captain and go to military school and I had no desire to stay in the army. I was fine. I did a career. I retired. And unfortunately, just a few years ago, I was diagnosed with AML. You know what that is? It's acute myeloid leukemia. And that's part with the aid of American Legion and Veterans Association. I was able to get a claim through the VA, cover my caused by any alarm. It wasn't initially approved, but they have approved. The last 2 years have been tough. First year, fighting leukemia, and then going through a process. Stem cell. Something new that hadn't been done too often. And after 1 year, I'm in remission. But my experience in service started in City College. I got drafted also. I had no idea about Vietnam problem. I did go through OCS. I think the Army gave me a lot of, I don't want to say, aspects of how to lead soldiers, training, also. I think my record that I have anybody wounded in Vietnam, something I cherish in my military career. That's
quite a remarkable record of keeping your troops safe. Are you on, Misha? Yes, sir.
I'm Gary Butler, been in Andover since 1974. I got drafted in 1968. I did a little bit of everything else. I did machine gun, 60 caliber, 50 caliber machine gun, road truck, that's fucking fuel convoys and sideline for the Delta. We spent 30 days at a time in the jungle, sea life, painful, no pay, nothing. You know, a lot of close calls, told my buddy was going to gamble one night. So he had to be stuck and had to slow down again. Blew everything into the truck, he made it through that. That's probably the closest call I've had. The week after the shovel, and we had to not lay up upside down. We used water during the night up there. Also, the water was water down. And I was 23 before I got back, I didn't think I was going to call. Then I came back, I just found out that I was doing it in Fort Lewis, Washington. I made sergeant on that, I'm teaching the troops one on one. And that's about the end of my story.
I'm Phil Huggy. I've lived in Andover since about 84, 85. And when I hear these stories about Vietnam vets, we just heard, they make me feel awkward. I was a Vietnam-era vet. I was among the last to get drafted. I think he drafted in somewhere in 1972, I'm going to say October or November, or they stopped calling people up for the draft. I got my greetings card in September. So I was drafted. I had not yet finished college, so I had about half a semester to go. So I went and I joined the Coast Guard. And so I hear your stories, and I still feel a little awkward considering myself a Vietnam-era veteran. But then again, I found out when I went to boot camp that, well, the only boot camp that was tougher than the Coast Guard was the Marines. I thought I was not going to have to worry about that too much. And I also thought, well, at least I won't have to go to Vietnam. Well, I found out that most of the small boats running on the rivers in Vietnam were run by Coast Guard men. And one of the sayings they tell about the Coast Guard is, well, you have to go out, but you don't have to come back. And in my 4 years in the Coast Guard, I had great duty stations, Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and Bar Harbor, Mount Desert Island, Southwest Harbor, Maine. So I had really easy duty, great duty. But I did have a lot of adventures on the high seas. The North Atlantic in the winter is pretty tough. The submariner, the submariner there, you were underneath, so you never experienced that. But on top of the water in a small ship, 210 feet long, smaller than many knots, it was quite an experience. But I will tell you, my favorite time on the North Atlantic was in mid-watch, midnight to 4 o'clock in the morning, on a summer day in the North Atlantic. Dead-ass calm water, beautiful, beautiful. That was a great time to be awake and alert and just to be out there. But when I was in Southwest Harbor, I learned the rocky shores of Maine very well. I was learning motor lifeboats, pulling in people who didn't have the sense to get out of the bad weather. Like I say, you have to go out, but you don't have to come in. But anyway, I take my hat off to all of you who have actually served in combat. But not all of us have. So, thank you.
All right, everybody.
My name is Mike Campbell, and I just wanted to say something about a term I hear kicked around a lot these days, and that's Vietnam conflict. You heard earlier, we lost over 58,000 American lives in Vietnam. 58,000 lives is not a conflict, it's a war. That's all I ask.
My name is Diane Brenner. I've been in Andover for almost 40 years. This is Betty Kerr. She is the Vietnam-era veteran. Unfortunately, Betty is not 100% here. Dementia has taken a part of her, so I'd like to tell her story. Betty grew up in Torrington, Connecticut. At the age of 18, right out of high school, she decided to join the Air Force. And this gentleman here said, you know, it's an easy duty, but when you sign up and you go to the boot camp, you don't know where you're going. You don't know if you're going to have easy duty or if you're going to be in combat. Betty went to basic training in Texas, and being small in stature, often she was asked to go cut the grass or something else rather than march because she was too short and made the line look bad. So she was dismissed from line. While she was at basic training in Texas, far from Torrington, they sent her to school for accounting. And when it came time for assignments, she was able to land a spot at Otis Air Force Base, Cape Cod, and this was 1959 to 1961. She spent 3 years accounting on Cape Cod for all your veterans. Betty helped make sure that you got paid, which was a very important job. And also, you think it's an easy job, you know, because you work in combat, but let me assure you, everybody that went into the service did not get blown up, did not get lose limbs, you know, but that does not mean that they had an easy time and did not suffer from some sort of PTSD. Being a woman in the Air Force in 1960 was not an easy job. It's a lot better today, but I'm sure it is still not an easy job. So that is basically Betty's story. 3 years in the Air Force. Thank you, Betty. Thank you so much, and I'm so glad that we highlighted one of our female veterans. Or do you have any other female veterans who would like to tell their story?
My name is Chris Carpenter. I went into the Air Force in 1968. And I was one of the 60s female veterans. We worked highly by our airmen. They kind of looked at us and said, why are you here with your husband? Didn't think highly of us. I went to Weathers, and I was stationed at Air Force Global Weather Center for 2 years in Nebraska. And from there, they sent me to Andover. And I was a base weather observer in the command. And we briefed the pilots and took watched actually there were a lot of hurricane type storms over there. And there they are. And then after I got out of there, I spent a year in Westover in the Air Force Reserve. And that's fine.
Just briefly, Dave Jensen, Evanson on Boston Hill Road in Andover. retired U.S. Army. Before I get to this point, let me say this. World War II ended in an interesting way. I received my Purple Heart in 1944 while a member of the Home Guard unit. Small arms fire right through my left cheek and hair. Quite serious because I lost my left eye. I thought I lost my left eye, but I didn't. I survived. The career with the U.S. Army began in 54, when I was polished at Fort Bragg for a while until the division commander, Major General Joseph Cleland, decided to pin a cold bar on my collar tab here. So that's the beginning of my career. Now some humorous remarks too. What can happen to you while you're in the service. And the initial assignment I had was with a CID, Criminal Investigation Detachment in Boston. What happened, interrogating people and this and that. And I was told that sometimes you get to wear civilian clothes too, but you have to carry your sidearm. Well, I wasn't very enthusiastic about carrying the sidearm. I'll take our local permit too if you wish to appear in a civilian attire. Up to the local office, police department, gun permit, yes. Massachusetts law says you have to have your sidearm in your possession at all times. But summertime, if I'm going to go for a swim, law says you have to have your sidearm at all times with you. Swim trunks and no swim trunks. So much for that. And another interesting aspect was in Oslo, Norway, that was a nest of, espionage activities of all sorts. Had to verify the identity of a person. I think I did. That was the CIC, Counterintelligence Corps, headquartered in Baltimore. When I got back, I called up the office. Was my help successful? Did I accomplish something? We don't talk about it. So, well, I tried to be helpful. I did complete my assignment. Well, we don't talk about it. So I can't tell you what I did. In the service over 36 years, that's enough. Thank you.
Going once. All right. I told you this was the best part, right? Can we have a round of applause for